What's good? What's good? What's good, YouTube? It's your girl Nick. I'm here tonight to talk to y'all about this week's episode of The House of Dragons. Alright, y'all. So I googled this week's episode to get the title, and in some reports, I'm seeing this is episode 7, entitled DriftMark, and then I see some people saying this episode's title is An Eye for a Dragon. So this episode starts off with basically they at Lena's funeral. The funeral is in Driftmark. We see her body on a cliff. It's already encased in the stone casket. And they saying their last remarks and everything and get ready to drop her body into the sea. So basically she had like a seaside funeral. We hear the people who are doing the funeral, I'm guessing like the funeral organizers or whatever, like we will have today. They're speaking in High Valerian. We see Nera go over to the boys and she encourages them to go and offer comfort to the twins, Damon's and Lena's twins, Bayla and Raina. In the middle of the speech that the priest, maester, pastor, whatever they called them back then, the high sept, that's what they called the high sept. Damon burst into a freaking giggle. I'm looking at him like, well, what's that about? Then we see Aegon telling Aemon, because they walking through as all this stuff is going on. We see Aegon telling Aemon, like, look at Helena. That's not my sister. That's your sister. She weird. Helena is in something that looked like kind of like a tent, and she's messing with, I don't know if they were shells, oysters, whatever it was. She's saying something that I couldn't understand and saying something to him, and he tells Amy she's weird. It's like he don't even have no respect for his own sister or whatever. And he's basically said he glad that their mother hasn't betrothed him to her. And I'm like, ew, like, I don't know. I don't think because Allison is not well, she's Targaryen by marriage is what I want to say, but I don't think she believes in that whole mess that sisters and brothers should marry each other. I don't think she believes in that. So we see that Laris and Laris and Allie, I'm gonna start calling Allison Allie. Laris and Allie kind of like make eyes, and Laris is announced as the Lord of Harrenhal since, his father and his brother was murdered. The house went up in flames. It's a curse, a legend about a curse, the curse of Harrenhal and all that kind of stuff. So we see Allison telling Kristen that Laris is now the king, the Lord of Harrenhal. Next thing we see, Corlys is talking to Luke, who's supposedly his grandson, right? And he talking to him about, inheritance and stuff. And he was like, one day you're going to inherit Driftmark, which is where they are, their home. And Luke is like, I don't want to be the king of Driftmark. And Corlys is looking like, why? And he was like, because if I'm the king, that means everybody else is dead. And he don't want everybody to be dead. He's such a sweet kid. And so, next thing you know, we see Laenor down on the beach in the fucking water where they done dropped Lena's body. He is taking this so hard. He in the water crying. Corlys peeps this, and he goes and finds Carl, who's Lena's, protector, knight. And he's like, go get him. Like, basically, he grabbed him up by the arm in front of everybody and basically was like, go get him. Do you know where he is? And we see Corlys' brother come and kind of like tap Corlys to get his attention to let him know everybody see what he doing. So, like, chill, like, relax just a little bit. Next thing you know, we see Viserys approaching Daemon. He go over there, approach him to try to give his condolences and stuff like that. And he basically says, he was like, you know what? The gods can be so very cruel, can't they? And Damon, with his smart alecky ass self, gonna say, yeah, 'cause they've been especially cruel to you, haven't they? I said, he's such an asshole. As they having their little conversation, we see Nera walking by, and she's eyeing Damon from a distance. Corlys, Viserys tells Daemon, you could come back to Dragonstone or Westeros with us, and you can have a place in my court if you so need it. Daemon was like, in his mind, like, man, fuck you. Like, we ain't been speaking for years. You admonished me. You told me I could come back there, and now you want to come up to me and offer me a spot in your court. He like, I don't need nothing from you. I don't want anything from you. Next thing you know, we see Viserys kind of like walk off or whatever. Next thing you know, Otto was there being nosy. Otto go up to Daemon and say, you know what? Sorry for your loss. Daemon looks at Otto, says something, but basically is like, man, piss off. You get the fuck out of my face too. Next thing you know, when Daemon basically tells Otto to piss off, he walks away. Nera sees this, and she tells the boys, like, you know what? It's time for y'all to go ahead and go to bed. And when she sends the boys to bed, she walks off to try to follow Damon, see where he going. And of course, Otto and his slithery ass, he watching and he notices that she sends the boys to bed and goes to go follow Damon. And next thing you know, we see Viserys. He decide he tired. He had enough for the day. He goes to bed, leaving Alicent with Kristen. The Night's Guard, the old Night's Guard, asks Viserys, do you want me to accompany you? Help you get in bed? And he like, no, you can stay here, basically. So next thing you know, Otto with his slithery self, he trying to go and figure out where the fuck Rhaenyra and follow Daemon to. You know how he is. So he heads down the stairwell that leads down to the beach. Going to be nosy. But once he gets down, like maybe like the first flight of stairs or the first set of stairs and turns the landing, he spies Aegon down there slumped over, passed out drunk. And he gets him up and drags him back up the steps and tell him, go to bed. Aemon is looking. He just looking like, dang. Next thing you know, we see Carl helping Laenor up from the beach and telling him to go to bed as well. Right? And then, as he's just standing off to the side, Aemon can hear Vhagar, the dragon. He can hear her, kind of like snarling and stuff like that, right? So he starts to walk toward the voice. Next thing you know, we see Rhaenys and Corlys sitting in front of the fire having a conversation. She lets Corlys know basically she mad at Daemon because she knows that Laena wanted to come back home, and she knows Laena wanted to come back home, and she feels Laena needed to be home to give birth to that baby because they have some of the best maesters there are, and basically they would have been able to help her, and she would have survived the pregnancy and all that stuff. That's what Niecy thinks. Corlys is like, Daemon did what he thought was best. Niecy like, yeah, bullshit. Daemon did what's best and always will only do what's best for him. And to Damon's gonna always do what's best for him and get what he need to get to the next station and place in life. Cause he still want to be. They don't really know what Damon's thing is, but they do know that Damon is selfish and Damon's gonna only do what's best for him. to ascend higher in the higher in the hierarchy or whatever. So then here come Corliss again, bringing back all that bullshit up about, Nisi was robbed of the crown. They took a crown from her, and he need to go avenge it and get her crown back. She like, listen, basically, I'm tired of you talking this shit. I didn't told you that I let go the thought of me having a crown. I let that go a whole generation ago. It's over. I'm not worried about it no more. She called Corliss out. She like, you don't even care about me having the throne, having the crown. You want it because you want the crown. That's why you keep bringing it up. It's not even about me no more. It's about you and what you want. You got ambitions to have the crown. You ain't doing this for me. Stop keep telling me you're doing this for me, because it ain't. And she like, I don't even want to talk about that. That's not what I want to talk about right now. Alright. So Nisi continues the conversation with telling Corliss, listen, skip over Jason, Luke, Neera's children. I want Baylor to inherit DriftMark. And I want you to declare it before everybody gone. So declare it tomorrow in front of all of our guests, so everybody know that Baylor inherits DriftMark and all that is within it. Because she wants to do this in a way to, honor Lena. And she also tells Corliss, because we know that them boys, Jason, Luke, they do not carry Valerian blood in them. Just look at them. You know they not Lenore's kids. And he said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. Because in time, history don't remember blood. History remembers names, okay? So no, I won't be doing that. Next thing you know, we see Rhaenyra and Daemon walking on the beach, reminiscent of Rhaenyra and Lena's meet up to walk on the beach and talk about what they want for their marriage and all that kind of stuff like that, right? And she told Daemon, she's like, you know what? Although my marriage is a farce, you know it's a farce, I know it's a farce, Lena knows it's a farce. But I did everything I was supposed to do to keep up appearances, but Lena does not. He hasn't. She tells Daemon, when they first got married, they really did try to to conceive a child to no avail. And, after a while, she was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to seek pleasure elsewhere. And that's what she got with Harwin and conceived those 3 kids, right? And, they speak about how, she tells Daemon that Harwin was loyal to the death, right? And basically she lets Daemon know that she does believe the curse of Harrenhal. And Daemon was like, that was no curse, that was cold-blooded murder. And he lets her know that he believes it was Alicent. And she's like, no, Allie not capable of doing something like that. Daemon is like, shit, we all capable of depravity at times. And this becomes apparent by the end of this episode. Just keep listening. So then that's when she says, Daemon, I needed you. Look what has become of my life since you've been gone. Basically, like, why didn't you marry me back then when you had the chance before my father forced me to marry Lena? He was like, child, I spared you. You was only a little girl at the time. You was merely a fucking child. And she like, well, I'm a grown woman now, so what's up? And she goes in to kiss him, and he kind of hesitates for a second. And then he goes in, and we get a love scene between Daemon and Rhaenyra on the beach in like a little tent on the beach. Next thing you know, we see Aemond on the beach in the grass. I said, oh fuck. I know he been there listening to the sound of the fucking dragon Vhagar, but did he see Daemon and Neera too? Or is he on another side of the beach? We never find out. So it's like daybreak. And we can kind of like hear Vagar snores or whatever. And we see Eamon get up and he runs across the beach in the sand. And he finds and approaches Vagar as she's sleeping on the beach. When he goes to touch her, where you would climb up and sit on her back, it's like a saddle or whatever. She opens her eyes and looks at him. He stands back like, and she look at him like, boy, fuck you, and lay back down to go back to sleep, right? He he goes in again to touch her. She lifts her head, snarls at him, opens her mouth so he can see the fire. He starts to speak High Valerian to her. And basically, I'm guessing the words that he's saying is telling her, like, calm down. I'm a dragon rider by blood. So calm down and let me get on your back. So he climbs her, and once he get up there, he instructs her to rise in High Valerian. When he instructs, he's yelling at her to rise, and we see her kind of like stand, get her bearings, and stand up. And we pan over, and we see the twins watching from a window. Vagar take flight with Eamon on her back. I said, uh-oh, well, I guess he claimed her as his dragon. And remember, Vagar, if I'm not mistaken, Vagar is the biggest of the dragons, the most powerful one. Next thing you know, Bayla leaves her room, go into Jace and Luke's room, wake them up, and tell Jace that Vagar was stolen. They go down to the pit. Well, no, she tells them Vagar was stolen. They goes down to the pit where you would have to come in to come back from riding the dragon or being at the beach. So they all down there, Luke, Jace, Bayla, and Raina. We see Eamon return from riding the dragon. And she looked at Eamon and was like, where are you coming from? And he said something. And she said, you stole my mother's dragon. He said, your mother is dead. She was like, that's my dragon to claim. He said, well, basically, like, you was too late. I already claimed her. Or whatever. She gets angry. She goes up to go punch Eamon in the face. She hits him, and he knocks her down. Raina comes up and, like, basically, like, you don't be hitting my sister. And she goes to swing at him. He punches her dead in her fucking face. Next thing you know, Jace run up. Jace goes to try to punch Eamon. Eamon kicked Jace and knocked Jace down. Luke comes over and tries to do something, and Eamon just, like, throws him down, too. By this time, Jace gets his burns and charges Eamon, knocking Eamon to the ground. That's when they all jump in and they start jumping Eamon. Eamon gets his bearings though, and next thing you know, he's lifting Luke up off the ground by the throat. And he tells Luke, you gonna die screaming in flames just like your father. And Luke was like, my father not dead. And Eamon looks at Jace as Jace standing to the side and says, he don't know, does he, Lord Strong? That's what he says to Jace, taunting him. And next thing you know, Jace tries to approach with a dagger in his hand. Eamon get the best of him again. They get to fight. Some kind of way, Luke throws up some dirt into Eamon's eyes. And when that happens, and Eamon is like trying to clean his eye out, that's when Jace gets the chance. And no, it wasn't. I got it backwards. Jace threw the dirt in Eamon's eye. Excuse me. And that's when Luke gets the chance to grab the dagger. And he cuts Eamon across the face and slits like this. Blood everywhere. At this moment, we see Alan and King V's night guard approaching, like, what are y'all doing? And we hear him yell and we hear the kids yell. Next thing you know, we see the kids, well, Amond is there and the other kids are standing around as the maester is tending to Amond in his eye, and the king is there, and Alan said, they want answers or whatever. And Viserys is like, who the hell was supposed to be watching them? He's yelling at the knights. Like, and the knights are like, well, they were supposed to be in bed. We had put them to bed already. I don't know what got them to get up and leave or whatever like that, right? Allison was like asking the maester, so is he going to be okay? He lost a lot of blood. The maester was like, oh, that skin going to heal, but he lost his eye. He lost the eye. I can't do nothing about that. And next thing you know, she is mad. She runs up to Aegon and jacks him up like this and yelling at him like, where was you? Where was you? If you wouldn't have been full off of your cups, because I told you Aegon then got drunk and passed out early. Or whatever, so she mad. Next thing you know, Corliss has got word of what happened. And Nera has found out what's happened. She didn't return to the house, to the castle. They enter the room. As they enter, all kids are shouting at the same time, trying to tell their side of the story. And so Allie says something slick about those she admonishing Viserys like, get them, like they cut your son's eye. Your son lost the eye because of them and all this other stuff. And Nero was like, no, my sons were attacked and they defended themselves. And they were called bastards. Their paternity was thrown in their faces. She tells her father, these boys stand to inherit the Iron Throne, and being called bastards by Aemond, even Aemond is reason to call for treason. She was like, I want him punished. And she wanted to know who he heard saying that the boys were bastards. So Allie gonna jump in. Allison jumps in. No, no, no. Everybody talks about that. He could have heard anybody saying that, right? She trying to get the attention off of the king finding out who's the one who been saying it. Where did Aemon hear those words, right? So King V all up in Aemon's face like, tell me, boy, where did you hear those words? Where did you hear it? Allie jumps in again. Well, Nera, where is Lena? Where is your husband? Shouldn't he be here too? Basically saying something to draw the king's attention away from getting the truth out of Aemon. So Nera was like, I don't know where he is. I couldn't sleep, so I started walking the beach last night. I went out for a walk, and I'm just returning to see all this going on. So King V goes up to Aemon once again. Where did you hear those words, boy? And Aemon looks at his mother, and she gives a look like, you better not tell him you heard it out of my mouth. So that's what he gonna say. I heard Aegon say it. I said, oh, fuck, you gonna throw your brother in the mix? You little bitch. So King Viserys goes up to Aegon and was like, where did you hear that? Aegon was like, listen, we all know, look at them. Everybody knows that they not Lena's children, that they bastards. Look at them. They don't even have white hair, basically, is what he's saying. Viserys is like over it. He basically shouts at everybody and said, you know what? We need to stop all this fucking infighting. We family. We supposed to stand tall, united, and fight everybody else. Instead, we fighting on each other. And I demand that y'all apologize to one another and get over it. Ellie screamed like, oh no the fuck. That ain't the end of this. This is not good enough. We don't want no fucking sorries. Aemon lost his fucking eye. And I want eye for an eye. Luke cut Aemon's eye. I want you to take one of Luke's eyes. um, Viserys is like, no, we're not doing it. She looked at Kristen, was like, so Kristen, as my protector, go over there and grab that boy and cut his eye out. Kristen stands up like, what? And then he says, I'm your sworn protector. Basically, I'm not about to do this to no fucking kid. So, the king say, hell no, you're not doing that. Like, basically, Sir Kristen, stay put. He says, you know what? Whomever speaks of those boys' paternity will lose their fucking tongue if I hear of it again. And that's it. This whole meeting, this whole thing is over. Ellie, mad as hell, pumped up. She steals the dagger from the King's Knight's Guard and charges toward Nera and the boys. Nera turns around just in the nick of time, grab Allie by the hand. So Kristen starts to walk over towards them. Damon is in the room as well, standing in the corner watching. Damon hurry up and walks into Kristen, and from the clank I heard, I thought that Damon had stabbed Kristen, right? I said, oh fuck. I said, he just stabbed him. Then that's when you hear Allie going off at Rhaenyra like, you do what you want to do. You live the life you want to live and don't worry about how it looks and appears to everybody else in the throne. You make the throne look bad. But here I am doing what I'm supposed to do. Um, doing what I'm supposed to do for my king and doing everything right for the throne. That's when Nero was like, you know what? Is it so? You exhausted, ain't you? You are so exhausted from carrying that cloak of righteousness. I said, I started laughing because you know what it reminds me of. Remember on the help when Abeline told what's her name that ate the fucking doo doo pie. She said, "Ain't you tired? Is you tired yet from all the shit?" Was her name Miss Millie? I forgot what her name was, but you know who I'm talking about. The character that Bryce Dallas Howard played on the help. Abeline told, ain't you tired? That's what Rhaenyra was basically saying to Allison. Ain't you fucking tired? Ain't you tired of all this righteousness trying to come down on everybody else about their lives and what they doing? Like you so innocent or whatever. She was like, everybody, aren't you tired from that cloak of righteousness? And then everybody sees you for who you really are right here in this moment. And to me, it reminds me also of this movie called The Dancehall Queen. If you've never seen it, it's an old movie. And there was a street vendor named Marcel who had two daughters. And she had a little brother. And her little brother and his homeboy used to like stand guard and security around her little buggy or whatever that she sold things on. And some guy was going around at the, as it was a guy going around. I forgot what his name was, but he was going around harassing the street vendors or whatever. And he tried to get some money from the lady. Her name was Marcel. Do something. And her brother's best friend stood up for her. And the guy fucking stabbed her brother's best friend and killed him. And that sent the brother into a tizzy. And he went crazy. And the whole time she had this older guy that she used to call on thinking that he want her. And he used to look out for her, give her money. But the whole time he didn't want her. He wanted to fuck on her little daughter. Her daughter was a teenager, probably 14, 15. And he actually did eventually fuck on her daughter. But what she did was it was a dancehall queen contest coming up. So she started going to this lady. First she dyed her hair, started to get wigs and shit like that, whatever, right? And started competing at the dance hall, dancing and all that, being seen at the dance hall. And when they decided they was gonna have somebody battle the dance hall queen at the time, her name was Olivine. So this lady, the street vendor, Miss Marcia, she started getting outfits. And the benefactor, she met him one night while she was out there dancing. And with the wigs and shit on, he didn't recognize that it was her. So at the end of the movie, he come to her and he like, can we go now? Because doing all of this, she finds out that he's the one who told the guy to start harassing him, and the guy was harassing the street vendors, not knowing she was one of the street vendors um that the man was messing with, or whatever, or was like trying to look out for. And this is when she found out that he the one who put all this stuff in motion for her son, her brother's best friend to get murdered, the brother to go crazy and all that kind of stuff. And at this time, she knew that he didn't have sex with her daughter, but she told her daughter to do it anyway because he looks out for them. And they called him, basically she had the daughter calling him Godfather. But anyway, he ended up killing the guy that he sent to kill and harass them. And he come to her saying, "Can we go now?" And she was like, when she went to go take the wig off, because she had won the dance or queen contest, she took the wig off like, "You think you really want me now that we know who you really are?" And that's what this whole scene be. I said all that to say that this whole scene when Nira said that to Allie, it reminded me of that part in Dance Hall Queen where she was like, "You think me want you? Well, now we know who you really are." Like, the mask is off. People know who you are, Allison. You're not as innocent as you claim to be, or whatever, right? And then she says this. Allison gets extra pissed and slice Rhaenyra's fucking wrist. Drops the dagger. Goes back over there to her husband. After all of that, everybody's standing and looking in disbelief. Aemon gets up and says, he tells his mother, "Don't mourn me, Ma. Stop fussing about my eye or whatever. It was a fair exchange, like it was a fair fight. And I might have lost my eye, but I got a fucking dragon out of this, so don't even fucking worry about it." And next thing you know, we see the two families split down the middle. And we also noticed that Kristen wasn't stabbed. And when we see the two families split down the middle, we see Allison, Aegon, and Sir Kristen on one side, Corlys, Daemon, Rhaenyra on the other. I said, okay, so Daemon standing with House Valerian. Next thing we know, we see Allison in her chamber. Otto slithers on in there. She got her back turned to him. She looking at the fire. She won't turn and look at him because she embarrassed about her behavior and how she looked to everybody. She was like, I know my actions have pushed my husband to always to basically go further and deeper into Rhaenyra's side than mine. And he's never going to take my side at this point now or whatever, right? She was like, he always going to favor Rhaenyra now. So Otto was like, yeah, that's all true. But you know what? I never seen you act this way. And you know what? I see your determination to win this Game of Thrones, right? I see it. And basically, he like, I'm proud. I'm very proud of you. Next thing you know, he gives her some advice, telling us, go to the king, tell him you sorry, plead with him about, you was only acting like that because you was upset about Aemon and the fact that he lost his eye. And he going to forgive you eventually. And in time, you and I both will prevail and we will win the Iron Throne. I said to myself, you always about your fucking self. You was here in DriftMark not just to be there for Damon and attend his funeral for Lena. You was there to slither on up to your daughter to get her to see things your way or to see if she see things your way now so you can get hand of the king again, or perhaps just keep making your chess moves so you can eventually get one of them boys on the Iron Throne and take Rhaenyra's inheritance away from her. He said, you know what? And Aemon was right. Vhagar is the biggest dragon, and now they have her. And so he basically felt like they a threat to Rhaenyra and all them because they got the biggest dragon. Next thing you know, Rhaenyra in her room getting seen by the maesters. They sewing up her hand, doing whatever they need to do to her hand. Lena approaches. He comes in the room because remember he was somewhere drunk, so he didn't know what happened. Rhaenyra dismisses the boys because the boys were there too. So Rhaenyra dismisses the boys, and she dismisses the maester, and Lena sits down in front of her. He is full of self-pity about the fact that he couldn't do what he could do to protect his sister. He he couldn't protect his sister. He wasn't there to protect his boys and to protect Nera too. He just full of pity, self-pity. And he said, I failed you and I failed our marriage. And he was like, but I do love you. And I love those boys deeply, even though he know they're not his children. He was like, I love them too. And she was like, well, Aemon called the boys bastards, and that's what started that whole fight or whatever. And he was like, you know what? It's okay. I hate the fact that the gods made me gay. And she like, you know what? I don't hate it because I still see you as an honorable man. And, you still a good person even though you like men. And you're not really attracted to me, but that don't make you less of a man and it don't make you a bad person or whatever. And he reminds her about the deal they made on the beach that day. So he tells her, you know what? I'm sending Cole down to Stepstone, and I'm going to recommit myself to you in our marriage. And I plan to be the husband that you deserve all those years ago, and that's what I'm going to be going forward. Basically, I'm going to straighten up and fly right. I'm going to do what I need to do for our appearances and all that. You stood by and let me have my indiscretions with no fuss or fight or anything. And I'm going to do right by you now. Next thing you know, um we see Alice and the king in like a little room on the boat because they leaving Driftmark. And we see the boat pulling away. She tried to talk to the king. The king looking deathly ill as usual and not having no words for her at the moment. We see Vhagar fly off and leave with them too. I said, dang, Vhagar really gone. Next thing you know, we see Rhaenyra and Daemon walking. And they, not walking, they out on the balcony or the patio or whatever, the castle. And they having a conversation saying, what all comes with having the power of fire. And then sometimes, like Rhaenyra is like, it's like a prison sometimes. Fire is the prison, and the sea snakes, which is the house of Valerian, they got the sea, and basically they see the sea as an escape. It feels like the power is more trouble than it's worth. The firepower is more trouble than it's worth for how much she and Daemon have lost, trying to attain that power. And next thing you know, we go back to the boat and we see Larys slither up next to Ellie, and he tell her, it was wrong what happened to Aemon. And if you really want that eye for an eye, I'm gonna make sure you get it. She was like, you know what? No, that's not even necessary, Larys. But you know what? I notice your devotion. And there will be a time that I'm going to have to call upon you because you devoted to me and you know how to be discreet in whatever it is that you decide to do. So it is going to be a time I'm going to call upon you. And you just chill out and wait for that time to come. You're like, all right, I'm going to chill in the cut and wait for such a time to arise. Next thing you know, we see Nera and Daemon again. And she starts to speak Targaryen. And she said, you know what? I need you. I can't face the Greens alone. She proposes marriage to Daemon and saying, because the Valerians, they of the sea. And we are of fire and we are meant to burn together. He was like, you know what? But the only way I can marry you is if Lena is dead. She was like, oh, I know. Next thing you know, we see Daemon approaching Cole. And he gives him some gold, tells him about a faraway land where gold could buy you anything that you want. You don't have to have a high name or anything. As long as you got these gold, you good. So he give him some gold and said, you know what? I need you to commit a murder. And I need you to do it in front of people. Because I need witnesses to see. Okay? but I needed to be quick and I needed to be fast. So then we pan back to Nara and Damon still out there on the rooftop having this conversation. And they talking about loyalty and houses and things like that. And while that conversation is, while we hear Nara's voice talking, we see Damon go and grab somebody by the neck, snap their neck on the stairs inside the house at DriftMark. When we see that, that's when we see Lena inside of Corliss's hall where him and Miss Nisi was talking earlier about the inheritance stuff for the kids. Lena in there chilling. Next thing you know, Carl shows up. Lena is like, how did you get in here? And that's when Carl pulls out his fucking sword and says, you know what, you always look down on me. And I'm thinking to myself, when? I mean, we didn't really see a whole lot of their relationship as the years went on. But Lena is like, when? And next thing you know, they get to fighting. It's a little boy there. Lena knocks the little boy down. The little boy is like, oh my God, I'm going to alert the guards. Because at first, Lena was like, how the fuck did you get in here? How did you get past the guards? Or whatever. And he got past because remember, Damon killed that guy on the stairwell. Or the steps leading to that hall that they was in. And it's a fire burning in a fireplace. The little boy runs off saying he's going to alert the guards. Next thing you know, we see Carl and Lena fighting. We see Corliss and Rhaenys and the guards run to the hall. They look and we don't see Carl anymore. They pull a fucking badly burned, unrecognizable body from the fire. Rhaenys drops to her knees crying. She screams in agony. She think her son dead. The whole time all this is going on, we still hear Rhaenyra and Damon's conversation, and she telling Damon, you know, I truly loved Laenor, and he was really kind to me. So I want to be kind to him. So Damon's whole advice was, well, just give him death and make it quick or whatever. So we assume that Laenor is the one that they pulled from that fucking fire, right? Next thing you know, we see a wedding. We see was being a wedding ceremony going on. We see this lip cut here, the other lip cut here. We see blood being put on both foreheads. Damon got his crown of thorns that he got from when they crowned him king of Stepping Stone that time, right? Or king of the Narrow Sea. He got that crown on again. And they got red on, if I'm not mistaken. Red and gold. We see them slice their hands, put their hands together, and we see a scepter performing a freaking wedding ceremony, and they saying the words they need to say, and the children stand to the side looking. I said, oh God, so they done got married. They kiss. And next thing you know, we see a hooded, shoeless man running on the beach, running towards to a boat in the water. They hop on the boat. It's another person on the boat with a hood on their head. Next thing you know, the man with no shoes lifts his head, pulls the hood off. It's fucking Lena with his hair shaved. And the other man looking at him, and they smile, and they start to row the boat. And the fucking show goes off. So, this episode, like, House of the Dragon been giving me everything that I need, and I'm on a Sunday night. I'm telling you, it's the best thing that's been on TV. It is. I'm loving it. It's the best thing that's been on TV for me, on prime time, coming on week by week for me. It's the best. I love it. But my question to y'all is, who body was that they pulled out the fire? Because that guy that was on the boat with Lena, that looked like that was Carl. So I'm guessing the body that they pulled out the fire was probably the person that Damon killed on the steps. And once the little boy ran from the room, making it seem to go and alert the guards and everybody that they was in there fighting. Once he left to go there, that's why they said they needed a witness. So once he left to go do that, they was able to, them along with Damon was probably able to drag that other body in there, put it in the fire, let it burn, and Carl and Lena escaped. Because I was like, wow, because he pledged his devotion to Rhaenyra. And remember, even though he is gay, he's still strong and he is an honorable man. And he tried to do all he could do to honor Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra wanted to do the same for him. So I'm guessing that was Carl and him on the boat together. They put the other guy from the stairwell in there and let his body burn. And Lena and Carl is off to wherever this land that Damon told them about, that as long as you got money, you can do whatever you please. You can have whatever name you please. You can love who you please or who you want. So they can be together in peace. And that's how the episode ends. Tell me what y'all think happened. Who do you think that was on the boat with Lena? Where do you think he's going? Like, basically they faked his death. So, because she said something about setting him free. So basically, they faked his death so he can be free to live the life that he want to live. And she could be free to marry her uncle. Because that's what she wanted all the whole time. And that's who he wanted the whole time too. So now they should be happy, right? But it's still a war about to happen because Allison is gone mad and Damon and Rhaenyra not gonna stand by and let Allison get away with whatever she thinks she's getting away with. So I hope y'all enjoyed this review, this recap of the show. This one is way shorter than all the other ones I've done. I think I did a pretty good job this week. So I'm going to hurry up and get ready to cut this off because it's at 36 minutes and some seconds at this point. But again, thank y'all for whoever clicked on this video and watched some of it, a little of it, all of it. I thank you if you made it to this point. Please don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons. And get in the comments and tell me what y'all think, how this all went down, where you think Lenore is going, what y'all think gonna happen coming up in the show, or whatever views or what have you that y'all have from the show. Or if y'all familiar with the movies I referenced in the middle of this review. I'll see y'all in the next one, alright? Thanks for watching. Peace.